as I mentioned, I'm recording this immediately following Alabama's loss to Florida that happened in Coleman Coliseum on Wednesday night. Um, Simply put, Alabama just got bullied. Uh, Florida was the better team on the glass. They were the better team down low. And I think a lot of it had to do with just a physicality, and Alabama did not match the physicality that Florida put on the floor. Something that Alabama has done a pretty good job this year, against a team like Houston, a team like Texas A&M, honestly, a team like Tennessee. Alabama did a pretty good job matching the physicality and playing up to that level. And in this game, they just didn't. Florida out-rebounds Alabama by 15. They've only been out-rebounded in 4 games this season. It was Illinois by 7, Mizzou by 1, LSU by 2, and then this Florida game by 15. So by far the worst rebounding performance of the season for Alabama. And that really was the huge difference in this game. One of your best bigs that was playing and playing really well was Aiden Sherrill. He gets injured during Florida's run, gets hit in the head. Not heard the specifics on what that's going to come out to be, but he has a pretty good game. He was my player to watch. He has 10 points, hits a couple of threes, really was playing well down low, and goes out, and it's a really an issue for the rest of the game. In the first half, Alabama was already getting punked on the glass. They honestly did a little better in the second half, but they were just a major detriment on the glass, and that was a huge difference in this game, right? That is the place where Florida won this game. Alabama was able to score at times. At times, the offense felt a little stagnant. Alabama gets 30 points from Mark Sears, gets 19 from LeBaron Philon, has just 6 turnovers, probably a season high. I would have to look back to confirm, has 5 steals and really causes Florida to commit 10 turnovers on their own, right? So from a standpoint of what had been causing us issues for huge parts of the season, the turnovers and at times your lack of defense, for stretches of this game, the defense was okay. Alabama gives up just 41 in the first half. Really probably should have been closer to that 36, 37 point. But Alabama does end up giving up 41 at the half. And in the second half, Florida and their bigs just bullied our drop coverage. You had really good guards and bigs that were handling themselves at will. Florida ended up getting probably 4 or 5 breakaway alley-oop dunks where they were just playing to the defense that Alabama was playing, and we just didn't get out of it. Whether it be Cliff, whether it be Grant, whether it be Jaron, they would just miss their guy as they would lose their guy, and then the guy would come in for an easy dunk. I do not think the refs were the difference in this game. I think that it was actually called fairly evenly on both sides of the ball, but that's to say the whistle was not blown a ton. There was just 38 fouls in this game, and for an SEC game, that's actually pretty low. The situation was a lot of physicality was let play during this game, and at times Alabama has had issues letting that physicality go, right? Sometimes you get in an SEC game and it turns into a free throw battle. And then sometimes you get into an SEC game and it's like this, or like that Houston game that we had in the MTE, where there's a lot of physicality and it's a situation where the refs are just letting them play. And Alabama, by and large, has not done as good of a job later in the season when refs just let them play. This is good news because a lot of the refs that you see in, I know everyone's going to come in the comments, there's no SEC refs, but there are refs that do a lot of SEC games and some refs that we don't see super often. The good thing when you get to the March Madness into the NCAA tournament, it's pretty rare that you're going to have your refs that you see every night in, night out. So that does sometimes change things around a little bit for how games are called in the NCAA tournament, whereas you're accustomed to one set of refs or the kind of general consensus on how games are called and what type of physicality is allowed in the SEC versus what type of physicality is allowed in this game. They allowed this game to be very physical, and to Florida's credit, they were really, really dominant with that physicality. Alabama still just never played great through the physicality. At times, you saw Alabama was able to was able to get some things going, but just overall, Alabama really never felt comfortable. To me, it really never felt like the offense got going at the level that it could have gone. You saw a lot more mid-ranges taken in this game. You saw a lot more, twos that were just missed because of how Alabama was having to put them up. Mo D goes 0 for 4 from the field, or from 2. Mark Sears goes 8 of 14. Grant goes 4 of 9. That becomes part of a problem that your guys just aren't finishing as well around the rim. Part of that's through physicality. Part of that's through, whatever it may be. And that was an issue in this game. Another major issue in this game was free throws. Grant Nelson goes 2 of 5 at the free throw line. Jared Stevenson goes 1 of 2. Muhammad Diabate goes 1 of 4. Those numbers just need to be better. Alabama shoots just 68% from the free throw line, and when you're playing in a game that is, similar to an Elite Eight, Final Four style game, you have to just play better. And Alabama didn't, right? Florida looked like the team that we thought they were. They looked like the team that I thought was capable of coming into this game. I thought that Alabama's, better defense and how they've been doing on turnovers was going to be sufficient to win this game. And at times, I thought Alabama was playing well enough to win this game. There was a stretch, however, where Florida goes on a 13-3 run, and that pretty much closed the game. I still think Nate needs to learn how to call timeouts. He had some timeouts that he used later on in the game, and it helped lengthen the game from when we had a 10-point game and we brought it down to 5, which has the final score being what it is. But there is a situation where if Nate calls a timeout in the middle of their run after a dunk, I think he could potentially settle the guys and not let it balloon up to the 13, 14-point lead that happened. Personally, that's something that I still want to see out of Nate. I still want to see him take some extra timeouts during that and understand the sense of urgency that, hey, I understand you're at home. I understand you think the crowd can help get you back into it, but Florida has all the momentum. You need to stop it. And Nate just didn't, right? That's something that I definitely want to see out of Nate Oates moving forward. I thought that, like I said, I think that they've done a good job at times this season cleaning up things that have been problems for us. The turnovers have been much better. I thought that overall the shots that Alabama was getting were not awful. I think that the rotations have been a little better. I think that the assignments, this game, barring this game with the back cuts for the dunks, by and large, I think the assignments have been pretty decent. We just really need to see the timeouts cleaned up from a coaching standpoint. We need to see the rebounding cleaned up, absolutely, from a full team standpoint. And then keep seeing the guarding that we saw in that first half. In the second half, like I said, Florida was taking advantage of the drop coverage, which they were seeing, and you just had some elite guards and bigs that were just bullying us on both sides of the, on that side of the floor. But I do think that overall, Alabama played much better defense. Phylon still looks incredible on that defensive end. And overall, I think you're really getting some solid plays out of certain guys. Are you still having some struggles by Grant Nelson? Are you still having a few struggles by Cliff Amore on the defensive end? Tonight was honestly one of his better offensive games. Goes 5 of 5 from the free throw line. 3 of 3 from the field. Did have a huge block, but there were also a few other moments that it felt like he kind of got lost and either gave up a dunk or something like that, right? So you really need to see some extra stuff out of your bigs, in my opinion. That's where Alabama has struggled the most. Which does make a little sense, but it is a situation where Florida, credit to them. They hit the shots when it mattered. They had some free throw shooters that were not great free throw shooters, but down the stretch, they hit big free throws. They shoot 72% as a team, whereas Alabama shoots just 68% as a team. They hit 4 more free throws and win the game by 5, right? Seems to be the difference in this game. And credit to them, right? Condon, a guy who's not a great free throw shooter, shot well. Aberdeen, not a great free throw shooter, shot well. Chinyalu, goes 1 of 2. So they're guys that are not the best free throw shooters, did well, and it was the difference in the game, right? Credit to them. This is a really, really good Florida team. This is a Florida team that beat Auburn in Auburn Arena. I would expect this Florida team to go very far in the NCAA tournament. They have the depth on both the front and back court, so I do expect them to make a Elite Eight style, a Final Four style run. This team is absolutely that good and is a team that nobody wants to see come March. So that's what I have to say about the game, right? Like, credit to the seniors, credit to Mark Sears, credit to, what they were able to do. A little too late, right, is what it felt like. Alabama got down 13, and, in our mind, it really needed to be cut to 5 or 6 at the 4-minute mark, and you didn't get it cut to 5 until, 50 seconds left. And it just was too little too late. Alabama loses the game, and credit to Florida. They beat us on our own floor and did it on the glass where they absolutely dominated this game. So we will move to the Auburn game, and then we'll get out of here.